Hi everyone, it's the EnglishSimmer here and welcome back to another video where I'm going to be discussing what order you should put the Sims 4 packs for your holiday wish list. We're going to be discussing game packs in this video. And again, I want to say before we hop into this, this is not a my favorites. This is not an order of how I personally rank the packs. If it was, this list would probably be a little bit different depending on how I as a player do play the game. But I want to discuss your bang for your buck. If you put these game packs on your wish list for the holidays, I want you guys to know what you're really getting and how much your money is worth in that pack. If you disagree with any of my orderings, please do let me know. This is always dependent on how you play the game, so please do not take this as a concrete answer for everything. But we're gonna start off with number one, which I think would probably be the main priority on anybody's list of game packs, and that is Parenthood. Parenthood is pretty much a more condensed, smaller version of Generations. It doesn't add as much as Generations did, don't get me wrong, but if you are a family player, it's great. The character values, I will say they have faded away in my game a little bit since this pack was released. I kind of focused on them whilst I was first playing through Parenthood. Now they're kind of just an element that's there in my game, but I do like having that chance to make your Sims a little bit different, grow up with a couple of different traits, and I do think if you are a family player, you need this expansion pack. And I feel like a lot of Sims players are family players, so that's why this is number one. Also, the build mode and buy mode, I really like both of those for Parenthood. Just for making homes that are really homely, really warm, and like actually look like they've been lived in. I think Parenthood is a great pack for that, which is why it's number one on my list. Moving on to number two, we have The Sims 4 Dine Out, which I will hold my hands up and say is quite glitchy. It can be very temperamental in your game. It does take Sims way too long to eat or to order out, but having said that, I use Dine Out probably the most in my game. I just like having something a little bit different from the regular, like going out and drinking to socialize in The Sims. I think restaurants are a really nice element of gameplay. I think they're fun for if your Sim's having a birthday party, whether they're an adult, an elder, a kid, whatever. I just like having restaurants in my game and I use them an awful lot. I will say owning a restaurant is something I don't do very often, but again, that's a whole other element of gameplay that I personally don't play with all too much, but you as a player could personally really like. So that pack may be for you based on the fact that you can own a restaurant. I will hold my hands up and say I don't know too much about the Dine Out build and buy mode. Like, I never really looked at that kind of stuff when I got Dine Out. It was more about like the gameplay and owning a restaurant for me. So I will say I can't speak for the build mode and buy mode in that game pack, but if you are a player and you sit and play the game, I think having restaurants is such a fundamental part, and it's a little bit more open-ended. The thing is with game packs, it focuses on one specific element of gameplay really heavily, but I like that Dine Out introduces a whole new venue and just something else for your Sims to do, which is personally why I think it is definitely worth your money and has earned its spot at number two. Number three might be a little, I don't know, some of you guys might not agree with this one, but at number three, I have put The Sims 4 Vampires. I know, what the heck, Molly, you barely play with vampires. Why would you put it as number three? Because it's one of the most in-depth, it's one of the most well done and well thought out game packs that I think we've ever had for The Sims. They are the best supernatural creatures that we have had in The Sims, and I will freely admit that. I love vampires. Fair enough. If you're not a player of Supernatural, if you aren't a fan of having supernatural elements in your game, this will probably be the bottom of your wish list, which is fine. Supernaturals aren't for everybody in The Sims. If you prefer a more realistic gameplay, then go for Parenthood, go for Dine, go for Jungle Adventure. But if you do like the supernatural element, I think Vampires is the most well done game pack that we have for The Sims 4 and the best supernaturals we've ever had for The Sims in general. I loved the whole tiers of vampires. I love the vampire points that you could get. I just thought it added such a great element to vampires, and they just seemed like well-rounded Sims, and you could tell that so much thought had gone into this pack. Also, build and buy mode, more like Victorian and also rundown elements in build and buy mode, which I know a lot of builders were happy about. It's kind of a little bit different to everything else we've ever received for The Sims 4. So I think if you are a builder, this is also a great overall pack, but purely based on the gameplay element, I think Vampires deserves to be on your wish list if you are a fan of the little bit more like unrealistic side of The Sims. If you like an element of silly, if you like an element of storytelling, and you like an element of supernatural, I think you should definitely purchase The Sims 4 Vampires. Number 4 on my list, which you could probably bump up, like I said, if you're not a fan of vampires, then Spa Day could definitely be bumped up. But number 4 is in fact Spa Day. I really enjoy Spa Day. Again, kind of like Dine Out, it introduces a whole new venue that doesn't really depend on your Sims going out and drinking and socializing, which, again, I really like. I like taking my Sims out and socializing. Sometimes I get bored of sending them to clubs or lounges or karaoke bars, and I want to do something a little bit different, and I think Spa Day is the perfect answer to that. We can't forget that Spa Day also came with the wellness skill, which I absolutely adore. I think the wellness skill is probably one of my favorite skills that came in the game. I always tend to play with kind of a hippie sim who is super into yoga or meditation. I really like that element of the gameplay, and it just adds some personality to the game. So for me, I really enjoy Spa Day. Probably if this was a personal list, Spa Day might be further down, but I think when it comes to monetary value, I think Spa Day adding that extra venue really does help its placement in this list, and you can kind of see why I probably placed it at number 4. Then we have the last 2 packs, which are the vacation packs, which is probably understandable once I explain my reasoning behind this. I hope you guys can like see where I'm coming from in terms of bang for your buck. I'm saying bang far too frequently in this video. I need to stop. But at number 5, we have The Sims 4 Jungle Adventure, the latest game pack. I don't think we've had any other game packs since Jungle Adventure, which was like January this year. This year has basically been expansion packs, which I'm not complaining about. I personally really like expansion packs. However, I do really like game packs, and I am starting to miss them a little bit. I didn't think I would ever say that, but I am seriously starting to miss some game packs in our games. So number 5 is The Sims 4 Jungle Adventure. I really, really adore the build and buy mode in Jungle Adventure. I mean, it's tropical, it's just fun. Like, they throw in so much colour and plants and greenery, and I personally really like the style that they went with for The Sims 4 Jungle Adventure and all the build buy items. Like, I am a mega fan of build and buy mode. I didn't actually check through all of that when the game pack originally came out, but since then I have used it so much in so many of my houses. I just adore everything that came in that section of Jungle Adventure. So if you are more of a builder, then maybe Jungle Adventure is a little bit higher on your list, because it does, like vampires, kind of add something that we don't really see in the game. But for the gameplay element, I feel as if Vacation Worlds can get very old very quickly. And as a player, the most of my time I put into the game, I play the game, I sit and play Families, or I sit and play Sims. I am a game player. So for me personally, I do feel as if the vacation kind of elements do take a backseat in my game. They're very specific. You know, your Sims want to have to go on holiday, you have to have like a specific storyline that you're going after. I will say Jungle Adventure is great for the fact that it comes with the Salvadoradian culture skill, which I love the diversity, and I love the fact that the Sims team are introducing cultures into the Sims. I think that's a great element. And to the archaeology skill, which again is a lot of fun, but very specific to a certain type of sim. I wouldn't just like have a regular sim probably go out and learn the archaeology skill. Plus it's pretty much tied to traveling to Salvadorada. So those skills are great, I enjoy them, but I do feel as if I don't get enough gameplay out of those packs to warrant probably the price point that also matches like Dine Out or Spa Day, which I use over and over again. I know that when it first came out, people were like, ooh, I feel as if the temple could kind of get quite boring quickly. And I do agree, I've done the temple like a fair few times in gameplay on and off screen. And I will say it does get quite repetitive. I mean, it's fun if your sim is really into archaeology, but it does get kind of repetitive. I mean, it's nice if you want to take your Sims away for a break, but I don't think it has as much usefulness as the previous packs that I have discussed, which is why it's number 5 on my list. And then again, last and certainly least, it always seems to be the first few packs, but it is The Sims 4 Outdoor Retreat. Yes, it was the first game pack. The Sims team were kind of seeing where they wanted to go with the game. I will give them that. It was the same in my expansions video when I discussed Get to Work. I just put Outdoor Retreat last because herbalism is a skill that it comes with. I don't really use herbalism all too much. It really is pretty much tied to Granite Falls because you have to travel there to get all the ingredients, kind of like archaeology and Salvadorada. However, I much prefer Salvadorada as a vacation world than I do to Granite Falls. Don't get me wrong, Outdoor Retreat is probably great if you are a fan of building like log cabins, cozy little like homes like that, especially if you have seasons. Those two do tie in quite nicely, because if you have winter in your game and you also have Outdoor Retreat, you can really make some really cute little cozy cabins. But just for me personally, I would say I get way more out of the previous listed game packs than I do with Outdoor Retreat. So that pretty much sums up what order I think you guys should be asking for these game packs. I hope you guys aren't too angry with the order that I place these in. Like I said, if you digress, if you do not agree with the order, if you have your own personal preference, then please do leave them in the comments down below. I loved reading all of your comments on the expansion pack video that I did. And the best bit of advice I can give you is go out, watch reviews, consume Let's Plays and content that really explores these game packs in detail before you decide what to ask for the holidays, because I think that's the best way to get a representative knowledge about it. Check out the comment section. People will be discussing what order you should probably ask for them. Everyone has a completely different playstyle, so it really does depend on who you are. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helped some of you. Give it a big thumbs up if you did. Bye guys!